Hey there, ladies. Well, welcome. Before we dive into today's nitty gritty all about iron, because I know you're chomping at the chop all about that, I need to highlight the important thing about iron. It could be the one thing that's actually sabotaging your metabolism. So iron deficiency it's one of the most common, yet it is still very overlooked in terms of its metabolic impact. I see women all the time over 40 with iron deficiencies, and it's a vital mineral that literally powers every cell in your body. And without iron, your thyroid can't function, your metabolism grinds to a halt, and weight loss becomes virtually impossible. But here's the issue. Even when iron deficiency is diagnosed, most women are being prescribed the wrong form of iron, the wrong dose, and that's creating this perfect inflammatory time bomb. And you know what I say about inflammation, it is not helping your metabolism. It's actually making it worse. And we're talking about those chemist or GP prescribed high dose iron supplements over 300 milligrams that don't actually help with your iron stores and can often cause constipation, nausea, gut issues, and a whole lot of oxidative stress. Meanwhile, downstream, your metabolism continues to suffer. Your energy stays pretty shitty, and you're told to keep taking them or go and have an iron infusion. Hey guys, I'm Carly Gallagher, the Metabolic Alchemist, and the truth, well, there's a better way. Research shows that a lower dose taken less frequently, can you believe it, with proper timing and support actually work a lot better than the conventional high dose, smash it through your body, inject it, whatever you've been told to do. More in this case is not working. We need to go in the complete opposite direction, which is where we're getting it wrong, guys. So if you've ever been told your iron is fine, but you feel exhausted and you can't lose weight and you struggle with brain fog, or if you've even tried taking iron supplements and you still felt terrible, this episode is essential for community listening. So please make sure you share it to anybody you know that's got iron issues. And once you understand how iron really works, what the levels mean, who are the main players, and how to supplement properly, you'll never accept suboptimal iron status again. Trust me, this could be the missing piece in your metabolic puzzle. Let's get into the details, guys. I really wanted to do this podcast today because I talk about this a lot in my coaching calls, and I really want everybody to have access to this information. Now, I like talking in analogies, you know that, ladies. So this is my 2-tank analogy. If anybody is in Australia or, Queensland in particular, we love our Land Cruisers up here, right? Because we're just, we're all cowboys. But I'm pretty sure that most big four-wheel drives have a reserve fuel tank, right? So think of your body's iron system like a Land Cruiser or a four-wheel drive with 2 fuel tanks. Tank number 1 is your serum iron. So this is the main working tank, the powers that, that powers your daily activities. It's the iron that's active, it's circulating in your bloodstream, it's delivering oxygen to all those cells. This is your main fuel tank. Your second fuel tank is called ferritin. And this is your backup reserve tank. And so when your main tank runs out, your body draws from the ferritin reserve tank, right? And that's going to keep you going. What is the difference between iron and ferritin, essentially in the big nutshell? Well, serum iron, that's the active one circulating. It changes throughout the day. And it can also change with diurnal variation. It's also affected by food, meals, exercise, inflammation, and it's like checking how much fuel is in your current fuel tank. Whereas ferritin, the stored reserve tank of iron, it becomes more of a stable marker for long-term iron status. Okay, so it's one thing that we always look at. If we're looking at lab work for iron studies, I am always going ferritin first, and that is your backup fuel depot. And that's the number we really need to watch in order to adequately assess true iron deficiency in combination with everything else, but it's the first marker, and it's the one that's obviously going to start wobbling your metabolism if it starts to get low. So the difference between anemia versus low ferritin, well, they're not the same thing. So low ferritin iron deficiency, so this means your backup tank is empty or running very, very low. And when you look at your ferritin marker or your level on your pathology, that's going to show you that it's probably below 30 to 40. I like anything under 40 UGL is going to be telling me you're running low on ferritin. Okay, so go and grab all your iron studies, guys, and start having a look at your ferritin levels. You would start with this level below 40, start to feel tired, have hair loss, struggle with weight. It's going to impact your menstrual cycle. It can also be triggering things like headaches, heavy periods, shorter menstrual cycle flows. You know, this is really important. Anybody who is perimenopausal, or, you know, even just not even talking about menopause years, this is right from menstruation, starting at teenage years all the way up. You really need to be on top of that iron or ferritin level. Now, as that starts to go down, stage 1 warning light goes on before that escalates into a true anemic, which is iron deficiency anemia. And that's when both tanks are empty. You've run out completely, okay? Low hemoglobin will also show up on your blood test here. And this is a severe form of iron deficiency. You're broken down. You're now on the side of the road. You have no fuel. And this is a stage 3 emergency situation, guys. And the problem is that most doctors are only really treating anemia. And that's missing out on thousands and thousands of women who are suffering from low ferritin iron deficiency, who have been told that their iron levels are fine, when in fact, you've already started to go through the first stages of emergency. And we don't want to get to anemia. We want to be on the front foot. That's what preventative medicine is, guys. We're looking at functional levels. When you are optimized in your functional parameters for all of your nutrients and how your body works, then you will stay in perfect harmony and health. We don't want you to get into extreme deficiencies or acute scenarios, because that means we have missed all the warning signs, okay? So iron really, really matters, especially for women over 40. It's not just about preventing anemia. It's actually really, really critical for a number of things. Metabolism, weight management, that's my jam, you know it is. So when iron is low, your body goes into that fight-flight response, okay? Sympathetic nervous system is triggered, and we want to stay out of that because that's our survival mode. We know when we get into this survival mode that it is going to prioritize keeping alive over everything else, okay? So it's thinking, shit, I'm going to iron and back up. I'm starting to get low. Okay, guys, I'm going into stress mode. And we know from all my other podcasts, the cortisol conspiracy, the stress bucket theory, that is all telling you that when you're in stress, that's going to turn off all of your metabolic hormones. Think thyroid, think increasing cortisol levels, think turning off your progesterone, which is your calm hormone, which is then going to impact your menstrual cycle, which is then going to start you stressing out again. And that's all in combination with that decline in our insulin receptivity. It's all going to lead to weight gain around the middle. Okay, so we want to fix that iron, guys. It's not just about keeping the lights on, it's about keeping your metabolism on. So it is essential for also the production of your key metabolic hormones. Think what goes into making my hormones, like thyroid hormone. Iron goes in there, guys. Iodine is also very important, as you know from my thyroid podcast, but iron is really, really important for that. It's also part of that mitochondrial energy production. Every cell requires iron to keep operating. It's also part of your neurotransmitter regulation. So this is our moods. Surprise, surprise, iron can make you feel a lot better. And as I said, it goes into production of those critical reproductive hormones as well. So one of the things that you want to be on top of, especially if you're trying to have babies, is making sure you've got a lot of iron, right? So we all commonly just think, okay, well, iron is all about, cellular energy. But I want to preface it's all about hormones as well. Not only is iron required for that mitochondrial function, and to keep the lights on, it is also about those big drivers. What is turning off your metabolism? Start thinking back. What is my body needing in order to keep metabolism going? So why is iron so commonly low in women, even when women are eating a healthy amount of iron-rich foods, meat, for example? Well, here are a few common possible drivers for your iron deficiency. One, if you're still menstruating and you've got very heavy periods, then you're going to be losing about 30 to 80 mils of blood a month, which means quite a significant chunk down in your iron stores. Now, so it's not surprising, but maybe it is to many, that an iron deficiency will actually increase stress, which then increases heavy periods, which then worsens your iron stores. So you're going around and around in circles. If you've got heavy periods, I bet your bottom dollar that your iron is low and you are not on top of repleting it. The other second driver for poor iron level is our gut. Well, where do we access all of the iron from? It comes from digestion. If you can't break down those iron-laden rich foods to absorb all the iron, which is hard to get out of those foods, right? Because we're talking about more animal proteins, then that is going to be one of your bigger drivers. You need an optimized digestion. You need good stomach acid. You need not a compromised gut lining, because that is going to impact your nutrient levels, and all of that is going to impact your ability to uptake iron. So get on top of digesting that food. I love digestive enzymes for that reason. If you've got low iron, then you need to have an optimized digestion. Now, obviously, there are some people who potentially are not eating enough iron-rich foods. They might be people who are vegetarian or vegan. Obviously, you are very aware of that. But sometimes people are potentially impacting their iron absorption through the consumption of foods that are iron blockers. Common ones come to mind: tea, black teas, coffee, calcium. If you're taking calcium, you want to make sure that if you're having a lot of iron-rich animal foods, like a steak for dinner, that you're not probably drinking that with a coffee or a cup of tea or taking your calcium supplement with it. That's just going to make it a lot harder for you to increase that iron amount. Now, there is another big potential wobble for your iron repletion, and that's chronic inflammation. So when inflammation is present, iron can go into hiding. It goes and it stores itself away where it can't be used properly, and your ferritin might look normal, but it's actually locked up due to inflammation, which is another really important thing that people should know. When you go and have your blood test taken and drawn, you should never ever exercise before going to get your blood taken, because exercise will increase inflammation, and that will then affect the true levels of a lot of your markers, including iron. So keep that one locked up there. It's not just fasting, it's also fasting from exercise. Okay, so here are the big pharmaceutical mistakes when it comes to iron repletion. The iron dump. Conventional medicine, I'm sorry, has got it wrong. Doctors love you for saving lives, but don't prescribe supplements when a naturopath or nutritionist probably got a little bit more of a handle on how nutritional supplements work in our body. So how they get it wrong is they overdose, they overprescribe. Their chemist version of iron is like 300 to 500 milligrams of elemental iron. And guess what? That's going to make you feel freaking terrible. Not only potentially constipated, but you won't get any iron into the cell. The science is all about the absorption ceiling. So research shows there's a maximum amount of iron that the body can absorb in a single dose. Can you believe it? I know we commonly think, oh, if we're deficient, let's just throw more in. But actually, iron studies show us that the body can only absorb 10% of the ingested iron at best, okay? So at doses above 40 milligrams, absorption dramatically decreases. 100 milligram dose doesn't give you twice the absorption of a 50 milligram dose. It actually gives you proportionally much less. Okay, so the math, if you take 500 milligrams of iron and you can only absorb at best 5 to 10%, that is 25 to 50 milligrams absorption. But the remaining 450 or more is going to just sit in your gut and it's going to cause a whole heap of problems, right? That's where a lot of digestive issues or constipation occurs with iron repletion when you're using big doses. There's also something called the mucosal block, and this is when you take iron, it triggers this thing called mucosal block, and it's where your intestinal cells that usually absorb iron, they become very saturated. It's like a big sponge. Once they're saturated, these cells block further iron absorption. It's like trying to have a saturated sponge and put more water in it. It just doesn't. It just kind of falls out, okay? Once saturated, they block iron absorption, and that block, guys, can last up to 48 hours, okay? So taking higher doses daily actually reduces overall absorption over that time. It's like you're trying to put more water in the sponge when the sponge is already saturated. And this is why they suggest, surprise, alternating day dosing. So every other day can actually improve your iron absorption rather than taking it every day. So it's called the drip approach. That means you can give the gut lining a chance to clear the mucosal block and then be ready for the next dose. The other thing about excess iron, surprisingly, it creates oxidative stress, this free radical damage, and excess unabsorbed iron acts like this pro-oxidant. Remember, we always talk about anti-aging, it's antioxidant. Well, pro-oxidant is the worst. That's the one that generates those harmful free radicals, makes us age further, destroys our cells, and you just don't want oxidative stress in the body, okay? We want to be anti. And we don't want to damage those, most importantly, the liver cells, because when they are damaged, that's going to have a lot of downstream impact on a lot of metabolic function, but also detoxification pathways. All of those gastrointestinal side effects that are most common when you kind of hear people going, oh God, I'm taking iron and now I'm severely constipated. They also might complain of nausea, stomach pains, black tarry stools, that's iron and the liver. It can also create some bloating and cramping. So these are all the things that you need to be aware of when you're taking iron. They can actually make the whole elimination process a lot more problematic. There's another thing that's really quite interesting about iron. We have this natural iron regulating hormone called hepcidin. And when you take really large doses of iron, hepcidin levels will spike. Okay, so elevated hepcidin blocks iron absorption, and this is when your body has this protective mechanism, okay, against iron overload. So taking really high doses daily of iron, it basically means your hepcidin is chronically elevated, and that's going to chronically prevent absorption, okay? And this is another reason why that alternating dose approach is really good, because it helps overnight or over 24 hours allow the hepcidin to also decrease. So it's not only the mucosal block that it's helping, but it's also helping your hepcidin levels go down, which will stop the impact on absorption. So let's get into the science-backed research on what is the sweet spot for iron supplementation. Well, it's somewhere between 20 and 40 milligrams. Surprise. We've done the maths already. So studies show that optimal iron supplementation between that level is better and on alternating days. When we treat iron repletion with a lower dose with alternating days, we're going to improve the tolerance. So far fewer gastrointestinal impacts, much better absorption and efficiency, of course. So a high percentage of that dose is actually going to be absorbed. We're going to reduce any potential for oxidative stress. So less free radical damage on our body. We're going to preserve the microbiome. So that means we're not going to disrupt all the beneficial bacteria. And we need those guys, okay? The good news is it's also better compliance. People can actually take it and still feel like it's not overwhelming their supplemental regime, I like to just, have it handy near the tap in the bathroom. So that's really, really good. And guess what? From a naturopathic point of view, we just love practitioner-only products because they are all dosed at around the 24 milligram mark for iron for this important reason, because we know what the sweet spot for absorption is without harmful effects. So 24 milligrams on alternating days provide better absorption, less inflammatory triggers, and that ultimate timing is another part of this crucial element. So research on iron absorption showed that when we look at circadian rhythms of iron absorption, there is 2 optimal dosing windows. Morning dose either between 6 and 8 a.m. That's when your hepcidin levels are at their lowest in the early morning. And it's also the most receptive to iron absorption. So studies confirm morning supplementation improves iron status, more effectively. But there is also an evening dosing, which I think is really, really important for a number of reasons. One, an iron dosing of, say, before you go to bed. So this is a really good one for like having near your bathroom tap, brush your teeth before you go to bed, take your iron supplement. It also shows really good iron absorption at that late time of night as well. But it's far better tolerated for a number of people because it avoids interacting with a number of things that impact iron absorption. But remember, I said about the tea and the coffee and the calcium. So a lot of supplements taken in the morning. We're obviously drinking a lot of teas and coffees in the morning, and having it late at night means then we're kind of avoiding all of that consumption of those iron blocking. Another really important one to remember is also you want to take it away from any medication. For example, thyroid medication and iron supplementation should be taken well away from each other. So for that reason, I also recommend keeping your iron near your tap and taking it just before you go to bed if you are taking a thyroid medication or any other medication that warns you. So let's talk about the form, guys. So there's various forms of iron supplementation out there, and the best form is iron bisglycinate. It's chelated with 2 glycine molecules, better absorbed than ferrous sulfate, which is commonly found in most chemist brands, has significantly fewer GI side effects, that's a plus, and it doesn't cause some of that oxidative stress. And we want to avoid oxidative stress in the body, guys. We are into anti-aging, not pro-aging. Now, avoid ferrous sulfate. It's a cheap format and it can cause more constipation and nausea than the glycinate. Research consistently shows that bisglycinate is superior in both form and absorption and tolerability. So win-win. Most practitioner brands will have ferrous bisglycinate as their format in a 24 milligrams. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but hey, what about iron infusions? Now, iron infusions should only ever be used when your ferritin levels are below 15 and or you have anemia, because you want to survive, right? We need to get iron in there very quickly. If you are in this bucket, you've been taking iron supplements and you're still worsening, then in that case, then potentially you will need, if you're very low in ferritin and iron, a IV infusion. If you're also severely unwell, pregnant, or have some other kind of medical condition, then yeah, you definitely do need an iron infusion if you can't absorb it through a supplementation. So those with ferritin below 15 respond better to IV infusions than supplements. But those over 15 should be able to replete it nice and gently with our drip approach. Now, if you're not responding to some supplements, before you jump into the IV bandwagon, check your vitamin A levels. Deficiency blocks iron utilization even when your stores are adequate. So vitamin A can be a great game changer for iron absorption as well. Make sure you're addressing inflammation. When you get your iron tested, make sure you're getting your CRP levels tested as well, because elevated CRP, C-reactive protein, indicates that there is inflammation that needs to be addressed for proper utilization and absorption of iron. So address inflammation, whatever the cause is. Also, make sure you're addressing your gut health at the same time. There's no point in just taking a supplement and eating a whole heap of iron-rich foods if you haven't fixed your digestion. I talked about that already. Now, if you've got any type of IBS or any kind of dysbiosis, then potentially a comprehensive stool test to help you identify any overgrowth or pathogenic exposure to address would be a good next step for you as well. There are some medications that actually will decrease your digestion. These are called antacids. Metformin, common for diabetics, protein pump inhibitors, these are things like Somac, Nexium. They will all turn off your digestion. Don't get me started on protein pump inhibitors. It's like, ugh. There are so many better options out there to treat reflux and heartburn, guys. Please do not jump on the Nexium and Somac bandwagon because they just ruin everything. Anyway, that's for another podcast maybe. Instead, we need to build up the digestion and fix the drivers of the reflux. So yes, if you're on any of those drugs, then obviously absorption of iron is going to be impacted and supplementation absorption as well. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. I really wanted to bring all of that together for you. It is complex iron deficiency and iron repletion, and for that matter, it's really important that we test it right and also supplement right. Not just throw the whole kitchen sink in there and hope that it fixes something, because it doesn't. It just makes it a whole lot worse. Thanks for joining. I'm the Metabolic Alchemist, Carly Gallagher, and I look forward to bringing you some more nutritional, supplemental little bits and pieces down the track. Until then, have a great day and make sure you ask me any questions or comment below. Okay, bye. And that's a wrap. Phew. If something clicked for you today, I've got all the links to my favourite products, supplements, and exactly where to buy them waiting for you in the show notes. No hunting required. Want more personalised support? I totally get it. This journey can be overwhelming when you're doing it all on your own. Whether you're ready to jump into my one-on-one coaching programs or test it out first in my online metabolic flash course, I've got your back. Just head to the show notes for the links to those pages or my website inner-alchemy.com.au and let's turn those frustrating symptoms into your comeback story. Because honestly, the best version of you isn't in your past. She's waiting on the other side of these new rules. Until next time, remember, work smarter, not harder. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next episode.